Good afternoon, everyone. There it is. There's the original bumper music for Know the Scene. It's been a while since we've had that. Always nice to check back in with that original bumper music. Take us back to our 90s alternative rock roots. Welcome back, everyone, to another week at Know the Scene, your show, radio and podcast show here for what's going on in the Lake Norman region, what's going on in the scene around here. What are you eating? Where are you going? What are you watching? What shows are you enjoying? All that kind of stuff. So we're excited to have you back for this week's episode here in almost May. It's almost May. It's coming up on us. Tomorrow will officially be May. Time just flies right now. So I hope everyone's enjoying a nice spring. We had a great Taba walk last weekend in downtown Cornelius. Davidson downtown's already ramping up. Already started having the great farmers market down there in Davidson. They have Hunters has a growers market going on. The breweries are all popping already again with their outdoor areas in this nice weather. I see people bringing their boats out. So it's for the lake. So here we are. It's time. It's spring. Lots still going on. Cain Center for the Arts. Of course, last week was like a week of comedy at Cain Center for the Arts. We had Thursday night a private event that was a Yay Day, which is a local nonprofit organization ran by Zoe Bukidis. She is a young person in the Lake Norman area who wants to make a difference, and she created a charity called Yay Day. And they had a fundraising event, and Preacher Lawson, the comedian, was in, and they had a sold-out show on Thursday night. And then Friday night, we had comedian Karen Morgan, who was here on the show. She sold out as well. So great weekend of comedy. And then, of course, Taba Walk happened in with Waves Entertainment and Bella Love and all those folks down there at the OTC did a great job at Taba Walk last Saturday. And then coming up this week, Cain Center for the Arts this Friday, May 3rd, we have Mark and Maggie O'Connor. If you didn't get a chance to hear them on the show, go to our podcast. You can find it at any of your podcast apps that you use. If you use Spotify, if you use Apple Podcasts, and just type in WSIC, Know the Scene, and you'll be able to subscribe, and you can listen to all of our past episodes. And any new episodes, it'll automatically upload. And you can listen to that episode we did with Mark and Maggie a couple weeks ago. They were great. They were so great. And they played live here in the studio. This is their new album release tour for Life After Life. So grab those tickets. They're coming on May the 3rd. And then coming up the next week, May the 10th, we have Dust Bowl Revival, a nice kind of folk Americana band coming in. And then a great family show, Buckets and Boards, Saturday, May 11th, and a new time, 6 p.m., family-friendly time, 6 p.m. Great show. I cannot tell you how hilarious the Buckets and Boards guys are. You can bring kids as young, I'd say as young as 4 or 5, but as old into even like high school, and they will love it. You, the parents, you will love it. Come and see that. We have ticket specials going on for both of those shows right now, $10 off each. If you buy by the end of April. So you still got like the rest of today when this airs to buy. And you put in the code SPRING, SPRING, SPRING. All right, so getting to today's show, we are really excited to have a day to not talk about Americana or folk or comedy. We are here to talk about jazz today. Jazz. And we have with us Dr. Patrick Brown. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. I appreciate the invitation.
Patrick, yes. He's told me I could call him Patrick, by the way.
Yes, it's now Patrick. Once I've formally embraced and acknowledged the hard work that went into the doctor. Thank you.
As always, if they give you permission afterward, you can then call them.
Thank you.
By not doc. But so Patrick is here. Talk to us about a lot of things today, but we're going to talk while he's here. We're going to talk about Jazz Arts, which you are the director of education.
Yep, that's right. Education director for Jazz Arts Charlotte.
Yep. And then you also do some teaching as well.
Yes, I teach part-time director of jazz at Davidson College.
There you go. So lots of ties into the jazz
very fortunate.
Scene in the area, making a great impact. Why don't you, Patrick, let's just get started in this kind of first segment that we have. Just why don't you give us a little bit about you, Patrick, himself?
Sure. So I am a North Carolina native. I was born and raised in Gastonia. And I went to school at Appalachian State, did my undergraduate in music there, did a master's at Winthrop, just over the border in South Carolina, Winthrop University. and decided that I wanted to pursue higher education, go into college teaching. So I pursued my doctorate. I then left North Carolina for a while. I was in the Great Plains, the state of Nebraska. I got my doctorate at UNL, the Huskers, and then got a job out in Omaha, Nebraska, and I taught there for 4 years. I was the coordinator of woodwinds and taught jazz and saxophone out there and really loved it. And a position became available in Georgia, so I had a short stop in Georgia. And for 2 years, I was an assistant professor, tenure track in a small school in Georgia. And the tug to come home was very, very strong.
Isn't it there?
It always is.
That's how North Carolina is, man.
It truly is,
bring
man.
you back.
It truly is. So my wife and I are both natives, and it just felt like it was time. So I'm very fortunate that the position at Jazz Art Charlotte came available, and it felt like a time. You know, I'm still in education, but it just a little shift, and I've loved it thus far. And then things kind of fell together, and I'm also able to teach at Davidson. So it all came about. But you're right. It's just wonderful to be home. You know, home is home. So
that's right. I always say North Carolina, man. I'm native North Carolinian as well, and I joke that I've lived in lots of places, but I've never lived a full 12 months outside of North Carolina.
Wow.
Like something has always happened.
Wow.
And it's like always brought me back.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever leave again. So
there you go.
We love it here.
It's a great place, man. It's a great state.
Yes,
it's a great place
absolutely.
to be. Well, that's awesome. Well, congrats. What a journey. What a journey. So North Carolina, South Carolina, Nebraska, and Georgia. And then back to North Carolina.
Yeah, I would have never imagined myself, going to Nebraska. I didn't even know where it was until
Lots
I moved
of jazz
out
in
there.
Nebraska.
There's a fair amount of jazz. Surprisingly, there was some good things. Yeah, there was a good scene actually in Omaha. I actually had a really
nice. That's good to know.
It was. Yeah,
I've never been in Nebraska.
Yeah, it's very flat. But
I hear.
Yeah, wonderful people out there, and we've it was really a great time in our life. It's not home, and so
Did you meet your wife in Nebraska?
No, we met it actually at Appalachian. So she,
nice.
My wife is followed me everywhere.
She's a mountaineer as well.
She is a mountaineer, and she's been by my side the entire way. So a little bit of kicking and screaming a time or two, but
sure.
She's been by my side on the journey, so it's been
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Does she work in music as well?
She was a full-time music teacher for quite a while. Now she stays at home. We have 4 little ones running around.
Wow! Whoa!
Yeah, so they keep her
the,
busy at home.
I know, quite the crew there.
Yeah, right. We're assembling a band, hopefully.
That's right. There you go. Yeah. You've got that figured out. You've got that part figured out.
Yeah. So it's
that's awesome. That's awesome. So all right, Appalachian State and Appalachian State family, State family back in North Carolina. Now at Davidson.
Yes.
And you're living in the area as well?
Yes, I live in the Lake Norman area, so
awesome.
I love it here. We love it here.
It is. It's a great community up here. It's a great community. Well, all right. Well, we've got Patrick here for the whole show, so we just kind of got started. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to learn more from Patrick about Jazz Arts, about what their mission is in our communities here, about what he's doing as a director of education there, and then we're going to talk at some point, too, about Davidson, what's happening there. So everyone, come on back to Know the Scene. All right, we're back. We're back at Know the Scene. Welcome back to another beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Maybe beautiful. We're pre-recording this, so I don't know. It might actually be raining. Hey, by the way, we forgot to mention, it is today on the airing of this, it is actually International Jazz Day.
Right.
Happy International Jazz Day. It's one of the great reasons that we have Doc Brown. You didn't think I was going to let you get away with that,
man.
did you? Come on,
Doc
I had to work it in, baby. Doc Brown here talk about International Jazz Day in the studio. It's a little heavy in here, but yeah. So all right, well, Patrick, we're continuing to talk with Patrick about himself and his work he's doing here in the community. If you'll remember, he's from North Carolina, from Gastonia, been around the country a little bit, back and forth. Now he was brought back to North Carolina, brought back home for an opportunity at Jazz Arts Charlotte. So, Patrick, for those who maybe aren't aware, tell us about Jazz Arts Charlotte.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jazz Arts Charlotte was co-founded by our current president and CEO, Lonnie Davis, in 2009. And I was actually a student in college at the time, and I was in North Carolina, as I mentioned, at Appalachian, and the buzz was getting around that there was this new jazz organization, Lonnie and her husband OC from New Orleans, and there was a lot of buzz in the musicians, a lot of excitement in the music world, the jazz world, and it has been steadily growing. And I've been watching it from afar and really admiring the work that Lonnie has done. And so I was thrilled to be able to come on board and join this. We're a nonprofit organization whose mission is to connect the cultural community and develop an audience for jazz through quality education, performance excellence, and musician support. So we really have three kind of pillars. And I help lead the academy, the Jazz Arts Academy, the education side. And we have a monthly performance series each month that happens in Charlotte. And we hope to expand to the Lake Norman area in the near future and bring some of our programs up here. And then we also serve as a booking agent, somewhat of help local musicians get hired. So people will reach out to us and wanting live music and supporting that. And so we help. We have a network of local musicians that we help connect them with performance and with work. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what? So you were in Georgia.
Last stop was Georgia.
Right.
Yes.
Was the last stop before you came here?
Yes.
So what was it about Jazz Arts, other than returning home, of course, to North Carolina, which is great. Sure. But what was it about Jazz Arts that grabbed you? Sorry, because we didn't get into we haven't gotten into like the roots of your music yet. Yeah. So I want to dig into that a little bit.
So my dad, first of all, my dad was an engineer by day and a musician by night, is what I like to say. He played in a local dance band. What
did he play?
He played saxophone, and I play saxophone as well.
Okay.
So I started because of him. I wanted to be like my dad, basically. And when I was in, I think I was a sophomore in high school, the dance band that my dad played in had an opening for a saxophone, and he basically came to me and said, "Do you want to audition?" And he convinced the band leader to let me audition, and it was a fair audition. I auditioned, and thankfully kind of won, quote unquote, the chair. And I actually got to sit next to my dad in a dance band growing up. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I was playing with all these gentlemen that were, 40 years older than me, some of them.
But what a cool learning opportunity.
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. My Friday nights, looking back, I kind of took it for granted at the time a little bit, but looking back, my Friday nights were at the, Gastonia Armory playing dance bands, and playing music, jazz music and swing music. And so that's really where I fell in love with it.
That's awesome.
And really the opportunity when I saw this job came about, the opportunity to, number one, be back home, but to be able to positively be a part of the arts and what's happening in the art scene in my hometown. Mm-hmm. It just felt right. It was just too good of an opportunity. And I just love jazz music. It's like I said, it's been a passion since I was in middle school. I was listening to it before that. My dad was playing it for me before that. And so just to be able to talk about jazz and the arts and be an advocate for that in our area, it was just, I couldn't pass it up. So
yeah. I love that. Thanks for sharing all that with us. Yeah. What are some of your earliest jazz artists that you can remember hearing that were kind of really were like influences?
One of the first, so my dad took me when I was young, to see the Count Basie Orchestra. They were actually playing in Lincolnton, North Carolina. And he took me, and I was sort of getting into jazz, but big band was the first. That was what my dad loved. So big band music was really the first. And the Count Basie was really the first group that I really fell in love with. And then I remember 9th grade, my parents bought me a CD of John Coltrane.
Yep.
For Christmas, and I had not listened to anything like that before. And I'll never forget, I started listening to it after we opened all the presents, and I came back and I said, "Dad, he's playing a bunch of wrong notes. Like it just doesn't say," because my ears just had not heard this kind of. And he just laughed and he told me to keep listening, and I've been listening ever since. Yeah. And I've just fallen in love with especially bebop music and the music of the 40s and the 50s and the early 60s. That's really become my passion, although I still love the big band music. So but John Coltrane, another North Carolina native. Yeah, just a huge influence among many other famous jazz musicians. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you went heavy quick.
I did. That's
I mean,
what we
going
do.
to
It's
Coltrane
jazz
like that,
musicians.
you know, I mean, you went
Yeah.
heavy quick. I remember, like, I had a little bit of, you know, I remember when I was growing up, like, Glenn Miller Orchestra, obviously.
Oh, yeah, I
was, like,
listened
the
to Glenn
first,
Miller.
like,
Yeah,
I mean, my
sure, of
grandparents,
course,
that was some of the
of
first.
course,
Well, and
yeah.
honestly, that and some of the movie musicals, I guess, that my grandparents, I used to watch with them when I was growing up. I mean, there's jazz-ish in
Yeah,
there,
sure.
And then you get into Glenn Miller, and then some of that, and and I remember, I didn't get into Coltrane until I was in, like, college, because, like, I don't know why, I just didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't hit
No,
it like
it's,
that.
yeah,
you know?
it's, yeah.
But that's great. But having your dad, who's
Yeah.
such a fan, a musician himself,
Yes, yeah.
helped you to have kind of a
Yeah.
insider
Yeah.
track.
He opened
I
up my
guess,
ears
right?
early, I think. Yeah, yeah. But he
That's
always
awesome.
loved the big band stuff. That was really all his. And but I'm very fortunate, like, to be able to play with that experience and that music, and yeah, I feel like it really helped mature me as a young man.
Yeah,
getting
big
to play
band's
that
still great, man.
Oh, yeah.
We've brought a couple. We brought in the fabulous Equinox Orchestra, which is an orchestra based out of. I mean, I don't want to say they're just big band because they're more than that.
Sure,
Like,
I've
they
actually
do-
performed with them.
Oh, have you?
in South Dakota. This was years ago when I was out in the
Really? Yeah,
I was in the Midwest. Yeah.
Hint for anybody listening, they may be coming back again next fall.
Oh, cool.
And then we had,
Yeah.
and then we've had Joe Granston, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
was on the show.
I
Joe
played with
Granston,
Joe. Yeah.
really?
Yeah, not in his band, but we worked together a couple times when I was in Georgia.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Joe brought his small band here back in February. People loved it.
He's wonderful. Yeah,
and he was a great guy. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was great on the show
Awesome.
too. So yeah, we've had those kind of like bands. We had Christian Sands
Yeah, I'm familiar with
come
him.
in. Yeah, pianist. Back a couple. When we first opened, he was our first show.
Oh wow.
Well, that wasn't we had our grand opening show, and then our first actual like season show was Christian Sands in the new center.
Excellent.
Yeah, he was great too from a jazz pianist kind of side of things.
Excellent. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how did you when you went, you were into jazz, you're playing in the big bands and stuff around the area, and you decided that you want to go to school for teaching at App State, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, originally I thought I wanted to be, a touring musician. That was kind of my original.
Didn't we all?
Yeah. I had the dreams, and then I just sort of realized that wasn't. Although I loved music and I wanted to play, and I still perform. I actually started to really enjoy helping other people, like whether it was my colleagues and then younger students. And I really fell in love with that. And so it wasn't until late college that I decided maybe I want to be in jazz education instead of jazz performance. And so that's kind of where I shifted my career. And so, yeah, I was involved, like I said, with higher academia and still higher academia. But it's really incredible in the academy, we have middle school and high school students in our programs. And so getting to watch some of these young people grow in the music and also in their life skills just through the music, it's really rewarding to see.
That's awesome. Well, tell us a little bit more about that, about the Jazz Academy that Jazz Arts Charlotte
So
has.
the Jazz Arts Academy is the education component, and our flagship program is youth ensembles plus workshops. That was the first groups that Lonnie started, and it is combo based, so small, kind of less than 10, like 8 being kind of the max we try to have. And it's improvisation based, where students learn jazz improvisation. And then we have since added in the past couple of years Nuestro Tiempo Latin Jazz Youth Ensemble.
Oh, cool.
Which is a big band setting. It's a large group, and Afro-Cuban music, and we have a new director for that and a percussion specialist, where these students are kind of are learning about Afro-Cuban music and its combinations with jazz and all that. And then we also have assembly programs for middle school and elementary school and even high school. I actually just came from one of those this morning.
Oh, nice. We go into the schools and do
Yeah,
awesome.
we are currently in a partnership with Charlotte Meck Schools to present our Jazz in Schools program, and we have Jazz, the American Journey that we've been presenting.
Awesome.
It's just the history of jazz, and it's kind of a performance and history combination. We also recently brought back Weebop, which is our preschool jazz program, which is super fun. That's Jazz at Lincoln Center's program, but we are certified to teach that curriculum, so we do that. And then we have a wonderful summer camp that's very popular. We had our highest enrollment last summer, and that's in partnership. We present it, rather, at UNC Charlotte. So we've got a lot of action. We are going to be adding adult education here soon. So,
awesome.
Yeah, the sky's the limit. Lonnie and I are pushing, and we just want to make it happen with as much, So we do preschool all the way to adults.
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take another quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to keep talking more about jazz arts and some of the education initiatives and some of the other things you guys are doing. So, all right, everyone, come right back with us. More with Patrick Brown after the break. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Know the Scene. Justin Dionne, your host here, joined by Patrick Brown.
Hello.
From Jazz Arts Charlotte, having a great talk today about himself, about jazz arts, all things jazz here on International Jazz Day. So yes, Patrick, thanks for coming again today and for the time. And when we left, we were talking. We had kind of done a little bit of a overview of some of the jazz arts education programs from preschool all the way to adult or adult coming soon.
Yes.
Tell everyone listening if they're interested in getting their child involved in one of the arts education, one of the jazz education programs that you have. How do they go about doing that?
Well, the best way would be to visit our website, which is thejazzarts.org, jazzarts.org. Click on education, and you'll see all the programs, and then what we're currently offering. And my contact is actually at the bottom. So if there's any specific questions, but just to kind of learn about that. Our next program, we actually just wrapped up our spring programs. Actually, yesterday was our Academy concerts, but we have our summer camp coming up. Enrollment is open. And so we'd love to have students. But yeah, just check out our website and education page.
All right. Jazz summer camps open now, too?
Yeah, let's do it.
What ages, the ages for that
That's
one?
middle school and high school.
Middle school and high school jazz camps going on this summer?
Yes.
Where are they? Are they held mostly in Charlotte? Or are they
They're
held...
actually there. We present them at UNC Charlotte.
Okay, that's right.
So,
okay, great.
Yeah, it's a wonderful facility there, and we've had a partnership with them for a long time. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then you guys don't just, you do arts education, but you also, you mentioned, of course, help put on jazz concerts.
Yes. So we bring in world-class musicians once a month to the Jazz Room. That's our jazz series.
Now, where is that?
The Jazz Room, typically our home base is the Stage Door Theater in Blumenthal.
Yep.
On occasion, we're at the Booth Playhouse for some of the larger shows. But the Stage Door is kind of our home base.
Yeah.
The Jazz Room.
That's a real, I know that's their really intimate space. Is that under 200?
Yes. Yeah. It's just over, I think it's like 250.
Okay. So 250. Great.
Yeah. It's a really neat space. It's a great space for jazz. It's very, like you said, very intimate. But we bring in world-class jazz musicians there, and they perform 2 nights once a month. And
that's great.
So, yeah.
And coming up, looks like you've got on May 17th.
Yeah,
you've got a show
Cyril.
6 p.m.
Yeah.
Cyril
Ahmed.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I was about to be like, man, I don't know about that one.
No, it's fine. World-class vocalist. She's a French vocalist, and just incredible. Really, this season, every season that Lonnie puts out, I say this is our best season yet, and it just keeps happening and happening. So yeah, we've got Cyril coming up on May 17th and 18th, and then we talked about Coltrane earlier.
Yeah.
His son Ravi is coming the following month in June. So we have Ravi Coltrane, and then we have the great young prodigy Joey Alexander on piano coming in. And then bringing back to New Orleans roots, the Herlin Riley, the famous New Orleans drummers coming.
Sure.
And then we talked about Afro-Cuban. We have a conga player, Pedrito Martinez is coming in September. So will be our season this time. And
that's great. So your season's kind of in a...
It's a 6-month thing.
thing. Okay,
so then it'll
cool.
be a new season coming up right after that. We'll just release a new 6 months, but we do kind of a 6-month rotation. But it's one of the best ways, I think, in the Charlotte region, to see world-class touring musicians.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Well,
and
it seems like the jazz scene in Charlotte's really starting to pick up with some of that as well, between obviously what you guys are doing on your 6-month season, and then also with the what is it, Middle C jazz, right? Which is, I hear a lot about. I haven't been down to that yet either.
Yeah.
But I hear they're bringing a lot of folks
jazz
in
is
as well.
doing well in Charlotte, and another thing too that we notice is it used to be that a lot of our students would, and we encourage them to go out and fly, you know, but a lot of our students would go off, but now we're seeing students that stay in the region, which helps
That's
our,
great.
our community,
Exactly.
and our music. So
Exactly.
which is really neat. So we have student alumni that are playing around Charlotte and helping grow the scene as well. So that's really neat.
That's something that I like to talk about when I get the chance to talk with the folks we bring on this show, as far as that are like local. You know, because sometimes I'll bring guests on. There's some of our musicians that are touring through the center or someone, you know. But when I get to talk to people local, you know, it's I love the energy and the creative and cultural ecosystem that a lot of us are working to build. Yeah. Right. And continue, like, from the people before us. You know, right? Like, there's I've talked with some about how there's like a generational shift happening and something, which is natural and fine. You know, like I'm actually, you know, one of the next shows I'm going to be talking with Christopher James Lees, right, from the symphony, right? So, like, I feel like you, me, and Chris, like, we're all probably similar age, like Lonnie too, like, we're all this, like, you know, and that's, and with the work that everyone's doing, I mean, even like, you know, with you know, the theater company, local theater companies as well, you know, musicians, it's great seeing this cultural ecosystem. And just like you said, the more opportunities that we create for musicians, artists, you know, actors, things like this, to be able to work in this region, right? The more of them will stay. Yeah. So we're not just this place that grows these people and then they leave, right? And that's not to say, I mean, obviously, like, you left, I've left at times, like, people are going to have to go and do their things, but, you know, the idea that they could still you could have a career here as an artist, you know, relies on companies like Jazz Arts, like Cain Center, like Blumenthal, like the Symphony, like, you know, Charlotte Ballet, like all these others to exist to help keep that going as well. It's a multi-pronged approach, right? So, but that's awesome. That's awesome. And then I know Cain Center, we have on June the 8th, on stage concerts is bringing a jazz night on June 8th at Cain Center. So put that on your calendar, jazz folks, as well. Excellent. Keyboardist, I'm going to mess up these names, I know, Oli Silk, guitarist Roberto Restuccia, and then saxophonist Jeff Ryan. And then the John Dillard Band is going to be playing as well. So so make sure that you guys check that out. Check out what the Jazz Room for the 6 months that that you guys have your season and farther. Can people buy like season tickets too? They can, yeah. We have subscribers and different levels. That's awesome. Can see yeah, it's a really great package. So I would encourage everyone to go on the website and just see all the packages. But that's really the greatest way to do it. You know, to come back and get a special seat and even get a nice gift. Oh, nice. Yeah, we really love our subscribers and appreciate them. But we obviously have general admission tickets too. So we welcome everybody. So of course, it's incredible. You know, I get a lot of comments like, I can't believe this kind of world-class, you know, talent comes to Charlotte. So it's a really great opportunity. So I encourage, Well, congrats on all y'all's work with that. Thank you. What are some of the top 2 or 3 things that are on Jazz Art's future, you know, that are on the docket for the future? Well, I know education. That you're really excited about. Yeah, so education, I'm really excited about the adult education side. Yeah. You know, I think about, there's a lot of people, and like my father, for instance, who needed an outlet to play. And, you know, they have day jobs that are not in music, but then really love music. There's tons of talented musicians that are not necessarily full-time. 100%. You know. Yeah. So we want to create those opportunities for these adults. And you know, what we hope is that will also create a whole fan base and, you know, more opportunities for the music, more people coming to listen, all of that, and just kind of connected. And my thing is, students are not just, you know, young. Right. No, of course not. You know? Of course not. So I'm really excited about that. Just thinking about my dad and the opportunities he had to play. And I know there's a lot of people, you know, I've talked to a lot of people. Well, I have a trumpet that I used to play in high school. It's like, well, dust it off. I have one of those. Well, dust it off, Justin, because I do have one of those. Adult education, Jazz Arts is coming. So I'm excited. I need to get back into it. There you go. I never get into the jazz all the way, but I did play trumpet, and I was actually first chair trumpet when I was in high school. We'll get you in. Then I like had to set it down and got into theater. Yeah. Wow. We'll get it back out. I know. We'll get it back out. Awesome. Well, so Jazz Arts, everyone, thejazzarts.org. Make sure to go check out everything they have going on. We're not done. We have one more segment left. But make sure thejazzarts.org to find out how to sign up for classes, how to get your kids in summer camp, how to go see one of these performances from the Jazz Room. Check it out, Charlotte Jazz, Jazz Arts Charlotte. Coming back after the break, we have one more segment to chat with Doc Brown here. All right, know the scene. Back today with more from Dr. Patrick Brown, who's with us from Jazz Arts, Education Director for Jazz Arts Charlotte. And we just had a great time chatting about Jazz Arts and everything they have going on there. And it's been great having Patrick here today just to talk about all kinds of things jazz. Again, on International Jazz Day.
Yes.
As I mentioned in the last segment, you can make sure that you're keeping up to date on all of our Know the Scene episodes and listening to past episodes by going to your favorite podcast app and typing in WSIC Know the Scene. You can listen to lots of great interviews like this one we've had with Patrick today. Going all the way back, I forget what number episode we're on, Bill. But it's a we're getting to we might have 30 episodes now,
that's great.
maybe. I don't know if we've done that many. But yeah, so Patrick, let's keep chatting. Patrick, as well as working with Jazz Arts, also, is this episode 40? This is episode 40. Wow. Episode 40 on International Jazz Day.
All right.
Patrick also is an instructor. You're head of the jazz program.
Yes.
Chair?
Yeah.
Would you
well, no,
chair?
I'm definitely not a chair.
Okay.
I am part-time at Davidson, so
there you
it
go.
is.
Okay,
but,
I didn't know the
no, that's
official,
fine. Yeah, no, but my title is very fancy though. I'm director of jazz activities, but I am part-time at Davidson College. But it's a pleasure to be at Davidson. So I actually started my teaching career at Davidson. I was an adjunct instructor for 6 years there. That's actually where I met Amanda, your marketing
nice.
director.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so she was working at Davidson at the time, and I taught saxophone and helped start a jazz combo and a sax quartet.
Oh, nice.
And really, Davidson was what started it all, and that's the reason I wanted to do higher education, really. It was Davidson.
Oh, nice.
So I left to find a place, like Davidson, which
Yeah.
there's really, truly, there's only one place like Davidson.
Yeah,
It's a really
fair
incredible and special place. And the opportunity, so my predecessor that I took over the jazz ensemble, Bill Lawing, Dr. Bill Lawing, was at Davidson for 46 years.
Wow.
An incredible mentor for me and many, many people. We just kind of celebrated him with an alumni reunion, and but I knew it was kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. I was like, if another Bill takes over, like I'm done. I'm never going to have this opportunity.
Right.
again.
That's
so,
right.
I was really thrilled that it all worked out with Jazz Arts, and that I was able to do Davidson's part time, and it's just a really special place. And so I run the jazz ensemble there and the jazz combos, and it's wonderful. Yeah,
Awesome.
it's great.
So tell us about what you guys are working on there.
Well, we just had a super wonderful, just a really successful weekend so we do several concerts in the fall, but then the jazz ensemble specifically does 2 spring residency concerts where we bring in guests. So we recently, in February, we welcomed Alexa Tarantino, who's a really wonderful young saxophonist who plays now with Jazz at Lincoln Center with Wynton Marsalis. And that was in February. And then we just finished a couple weeks ago with the great John Patitucci, who is bassist for Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea and Wayne Shorter. I mean, just the best of the best.
Yeah.
And that was also, as I mentioned, that was an alumni weekend. And so tons and tons from years back of wind ensemble and jazz students came back. And there was this wonderful energy on the campus.
That's awesome.
So it was really great. So we just kind of finished that. So we wrapped up our season. The orchestra, who is led by Tara Keith, who is our chair.
Yep.
And
Tara was here a couple weeks ago.
I love Tara.
Their, the play that they did, the musical.
Oh, Bright Star.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, Bright Star. Yes. Thank you.
No, so Tara and I have been friends for a long time.
She's
great. She's wonderful. And the orchestra just finished.
David's okay too.
Yeah. And we are just so excited about what's happening and what's going on. Lots of performances. We do a holiday gala in the fall.
Nice.
around the end of November, which is a lot of fun. And then I always encourage people to keep their eyes and ears out for the concerts on the green. That's a really fun.
It's that time of year.
Yes, they just finished. Actually, we just finished that, and then but September, I believe it's the 28th. I think is the first. We always do the first one in the fall, so that'll be orchestra and jazz ensemble, and then we end it in the spring as well.
Oh, excellent!
So, but there's lots going on in the music department. Yeah.
How now remind me with those, how many? So what are the students like? Because they're taking. There's not like a jazz concentration.
No.
Right. So this is kind of like, I mean, in a good way. This is. Are they music majors who are then also taking like jazz as well?
We do have some music majors. We have a BA in music. Many of our students will often double major in something else. One of the things that's, because it's a liberal arts school, we just offer, we have so many great musicians, as we kind of alluded earlier, that are majoring in something else. Right. And this is a serious hobby for them. Yeah. They want to,
Of course.
And so most of our ensembles are filled with students that are not music majors, and but they do it at such a high level, and they're so committed to it. And so we do have some music majors, and then we don't have any kind of jazz concentration. But it's just there are some students that just do jazz, but then we also have students that do orchestra and jazz, and so we have those ensembles, and a lot of students are able to take private lessons as well, and so they get jazz instruction in that regard. But it's just really neat to see them involved and not put their instruments away when they get to college.
Right.
To find and have an opportunity. And really, again, the students are performing at a really high level. I think a lot of our orchestra and the jazz ensemble and the chorale, the choral groups are wonderful as well. So,
right. Well, it's just, like you mentioned, I think that's a concept that is important for folks to understand and keep close to themselves. Throughout, whether you're listening, you have kids, or if you, are full-grown adult or anything like that. We were joking about dusting the old trumpet off, but the fact is that the arts like this, whether it be a visual medium, something with your hands like clay or ceramics, whether it be a musician, a musical instrument, whether it be getting on stage, whether it be painting, anything like that, right? Like you don't have to say this is the one thing I'm ever going to do, and I'm only going to do this, and I'm going to absolutely have a career of it to still have it impact your life. And in fact, it's that secondary kind of I don't want to say use, but appreciation in general.
Sure. Yeah.
That learning that as a young person, that hey, I'm going to a place like Davidson, and my main focus is this academically, but I'm still absolutely playing my instrument, and I'm still learning. That's pushing me in other ways and helping me with stress levels and mental health and things like that on the side, right? Like that's you get that in you now as you continue to get older, and other life stresses now come into play and stuff. Having those avenues of expression and challenging yourself and everything is still just as important. I mean, you see, it's like the whole you see lots of bands around here of at some of the local bars and restaurants and stuff like that are made up of people that are professionals during the day, and on the weekends they get the band together.
Yeah. Well, one of the neat things about shifting into a nonprofit organization I didn't always get the big picture of the arts, and I feel like now I see the big picture of the arts.
Oh, right.
Instead of it just being, in my mind, just about jazz music.
Right.
It's about the arts and what it brings, as you mentioned, how it enriches people's lives and just all the things you can do. They're important.
Yeah, it's the secondary, if you think of it that. I hate to say the word secondary, but it's that kind of impact.
Well, life skills too. I mean,
it's the indirect. It's the indirect.
Yeah. We talk about life skills in the arts all the time, and specifically, jazz music, we talk about, it's a public speaking, it's like improvisation, it's learning critical thinking, how to think on your feet, all these kinds of things.
100%.
That you don't think about when you're doing them, but you learn them through
It's preparation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, musicians, man, the amount of preparation that goes in. Yeah. Like, I never got good enough to play improvisational music because I never got good enough at doing my preparation. Like I never got good enough at learning my scales and memorizing my scales and memorizing my theory to be able to get comfortable enough to then improvise. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what, if you're outside of it, you know, you like people that don't get into the music or even like take it a different discipline, take acting, you know, improvisational comedy and
same
stuff.
idea.
You know, you still have to, there's like a base level you have to build before you can even start to fly off and try something new. So so you're right. It's the skills that you bring from jazz and the arts in general is crucial.
It's challenging, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it is. It is. So what are some of your favorite things? Actually, you guys are heading toward the end of the school year.
We are wrapping up.
What, are you like 2 weeks away?
Yeah, we're wrapping up. But, you know, I'm really excited about summer camp. It's a really incredible energy. It's a big undertaking, and it's just really fun. We're bringing in the great Marcus Strickland, who's a wonderful saxophonist. Yes.
Yeah, at the UNC Charlotte.
Yep. And then we're bringing in Ashlyn Parker, who's a Charlotte native as well. So there's just tons of energy there. I'm just really looking forward to that. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to over the summer.
That's awesome. Sure. That's awesome. Well, everybody, make sure that you, again, check out Jazz Arts Charlotte. Tell Miss Lonnie we said hey.
We'll do that.
She's great, a great lady. Check out Jazz at the Cain coming up, everybody, as well, on June 8th. You can get tickets for that online, cainarts.org. Also, Jazz Arts, their performance is coming up May 17th, and then in June as well.
Yes. Yep.
So, yeah, lots going on. Patrick, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for the work
Justin.
you're doing in the community.
Thanks to the Cain Center for the Arts as well. It's wonderful to see the...
Always good to have great partners around the area. So
absolutely.
Thanks, and we'll have you back soon. And everybody continue to listen to Know the Scene.